Hey everyone, my name is Jason, back again, once again for another Tuesday night MLB main slate breakdown. We have a very, very big slate tonight. We seem to have some weather issues too. I mean, from the looks of it, Roth seems like he did clean that up a little bit. So excited to dive in tonight. Big slate. Let's just jump into it. I'm going to be building from a small field perspective today. So if anybody has any questions for large field, the 15, 20 max, anything like that, please feel free to leave them. But let's jump right into it. So the first thing we're going to look at, obviously, is our pitching projections. It's where I start every single slate. And as you can see at the top here, we have a pretty stark contrast here at the top in terms of projection with Robbie Ray. He's leading the way by a pretty wide margin. You also have to pay the pretty penny for him too at 10-3. Granted, he is going up against Cleveland. Even at his price tag at 10,300, he still is, grading out as a pretty solid value here. The 2X column, almost 60%. 2X percentage that he's going to double his salary in terms of fantasy points. That's pretty impressive. When I go take a look at just teams against left-handed pitching the last 30 days, you guys know this is one of my favorite things to do. You could see Cleveland last 30 days way at the bottom. Weighted runs created plus score of 73, not good. ISO sub 100 as a team, not good. And their strikeout percentage, 26.2%, really not good. Their walk percentage is really low. They're not walking. This is a really, really strong matchup for Robbie Ray tonight. And also, too, with Robbie Ray, I believe they are in yep, they're also playing in San Francisco, too. That is a pitcher's paradise, man. So being in San Francisco tonight, Robbie Ray, 10-3, if your builds lets you get to him, I think you absolutely play him tonight. He's got realistically like mid-30s to high 40s, I don't want to say 40s, but I think there's a 30 burger in his future if things go right tonight. Next highest projected pitcher, we actually get some cheap guys here: Will Warren and Ben Brown, and also Matthew Liberatore. So Liberatore has been a Sheets darling for us here in the early start of the season. He kind of has faltered the last few starts. Also, too, you do have Will Warren at 7,500, projecting for 19.5 fantasy points against the Angels, who really only seem to, hit righties that don't really, have a lot of, strong K percentage, strikeout stuff, or they hit lefties really well. They got a lot of power, but Will Warren really should be able to get the strikeouts here. I am going to give a buyer beware on Will Warren that I'm going to go to in a second. Ben Brown, you have him against Milwaukee, 7,400. So these projections here really do not shock me. And the reason why is because Will Warren and Ben Brown, their strikeout numbers are just kind of ridiculous. So let's go take a look at that actually too, so we could just see in terms of the slate today. So this is our research sheets. Here in the research sheets, you could search anything you want with pitchers. Their true average splits, really the average they should be giving up to both sides of the plate. Their hit ratios, basically how many hits they're giving up from each side of the plate. We have our current slate overview, and we have our active baselines. So when I go to active baselines here, and let's say I want to just go isolate, we're going to isolate Will Warren, and then we're also going to go isolate Ben Brown. So we'll go New York and Chicago here. So looking at these right now, you can see here that just to the right side of the plate, Will Warren, 32% K percentage, Ben Brown, 27%. True averages are both very low. Expected sluggings are both very low. Expected home runs, very low. Expected batting average, very low. Will Warren is going to see so many righties today. Like, I don't even think the Angels have a lefty they're going to throw at him besides like Luis Rengifo. Shanuel too, but he's, that guy just, he's like, I feel like when he swings a bat, he just wants to tap the ball. He doesn't want to hit it hard, doesn't want to hit it far. I'm being facetious, but he just doesn't have a ton of power. When we look at them versus lefties too, and I'll let that load in a second. Okay, we got that there. All right, for lefties here, K percentage for lefties to Will Warren, 29%. He's facing, not the best lefties in the world, so that's really good. Ben Brown, also really, really high K percentage here, true average low. Expected slugging is pretty high, so maybe that's something you want to just tread lightly on with Ben Brown, just because he is probably going to run into, Christian Yelich, Bryce Terang. They do have some lefties there that can get him. But overall, like you can tell both guys are giving up more power to the left side of the plate. But overall, these are still elite numbers. So if they're going to, avoid any damage, they're going to rack up strikeouts. It's just really what they do. So I think both are great plays. Looking at them from an ownership perspective, I think you can pivot off of Will Warren. If you're playing a large field slate today, 52% for one guy on an 11 gamer is pretty absurd. I'm curious to see what he looks like an hour from now, like right before lock starts. But 52% in small field, it's probably just where you're starting. You're probably going some combination of Will Warren, Robbie Ray, Ben Brown, or Brian Wu, who is another chalk donkey that we're going to get to in a second. That I think is not a good play at all, but we'll get to that in a second. But Will Warren, the real reason why I think you got to just tread lightly with him. So if you look at his underlying stuff of Will Warren, he has some of the elite stuff going in baseball right now. He's pretty ridiculous. His strikeout rates are sick. He shouldn't be giving up that much power, but he just got this like thing with him that some rookie pitchers do, where like if they get themselves in a jam, he can't really get them out. So granted, this is going to be his best matchup he's had in a while. I mean, he did have the Rockies, but that was in Coors. But when he puts a full game together, man, his upside is just tremendous. Like I think his upside kind of offsets the risk with his price at 7,500. It's just a lot of ownership. So I'm going to say this lightly. If you're going to play a large field today, I think you can maybe take some Angels bats against him in a mini stack. I think they're fairly expensive for a team to go full 5-man. But if you think he has that one inning where he gives up a couple hits and then a home run, or he walks a few guys and then, these guys get brought in somehow, I think there's worse things you can do. But in good pitching environments, he has done well, and he's also blown up sometimes. So I lean on the side of him being in the upside, having a good performance tonight. But at that ownership in small field, you just eat it. You just eat it in small field. You don't even pivot off him, in my opinion. So that's just something to think about. If you're going to be playing small field and playing multiple lineups, sure, maybe you can fade him, but I wouldn't attack him. Going and sorting by ownership right now too. Brian Wu up there against Boston. Look, I get people think Boston is just like a hapless team right now, and everybody's saying like, oh, they're going to feel the effects of losing Devers. Well, you know what? The first 2 innings of that game, it did not look like it was going to go that way. I kind of thought Logan Gilbert was going to get hit into the ground, and then he recovered, struck out 10, because why the fuck not? Of course, that happens when the pitcher only going 80 pitches is 41% owned. Terrible. So, but look at ownership. Brian Wu, I mean, against Boston, if you want to do it, he just feels very, very overpriced. Like I'd much rather just get to Robbie Ray in a much better matchup. So, by the way, we have a special guest. Oh my God, there he is with the new background too. You trying to stunt on us a little bit? What's with the views, man? Tribe, can you hear me? All right. We will get to him in a second as soon as he jumps on and is ready. But you can just enjoy his beautiful mug. So going through the rest of this too. Yeah, if you want to play Robbie Ray, it's good. Schwellenbach, 9,800. If you want to go there, you can. I just don't think there's any reason if you're going to pay up to not just play Robbie Ray. That's all I'm going to say. That's what I would do. Sort them by 2x. The most valuable pitchers at their salary are Will Warren, Ben Brown, Liberatore, then Dean Creamer, the cream master, Chad Patrick, fucking RoboCop. He just sounds like a narc. And yeah, then Robbie Ray. So really, you should be starting your lineups, and I think the Sims are going to show this too. Some combination of Warren, Brown, Liberatore, Robbie Ray, and then probably like Kramer or Patrick. But honestly, I have no interest in Kramer. I think you can do much better than Patrick. So something like that for sure. All right, Tribe will be back in a minute. And all right, so yeah, that's what we're going to go with pitching tonight. Let's look at the pitchers you shouldn't play tonight. So you should not play Randy Vasquez, Jack Dreyer, David Festa, Brandon Pfaadt. You should not be playing these guys tonight. Like Spencer Schwellenbach in a rough spot against the Mets here. That could be a way to maybe get some leverage. looking at Brian Wu. If you want to take some Boston bats, I like that his projection is just a hair under 2x. So you want to take some Boston bats, that's fine. But all right, yeah, that's where we're gonna go with pitching. Let's take a look at some comments. Oh, my boy Ryan, what's up, Dong Brenner? My fucking boy. That's my guy right there. By the way, catch him at the live finals with our resident monster Mike too. Hopefully, one of them's taking home $1 million, for the PD community. And how about Seth Lugo? Yeah, if you want to play Seth Lugo, you can. I'm not doing it against Texas. I actually think it's more likely Texas gets to him, but we'll break that down. I don't think you need to play Lugo today. All right, I believe Tribe, can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Are you trying to stun on us with this background, man? You're showing the views through the window. It's new.
Oh, yeah. We got penthouse views live from Myrtle Beach.
Live from Myrtle Beach. Thanks for joining, man. We just broke down pitchers and what we're probably going to be targeting. So, is there any hot takes you have with pitching? Are you more in favor of, our projections and ownership? Like, what are you seeing out there?
I mean, Wu rates out like trash, so I think that's an easy pivot in pretty much all size fields. Like even in single entry, small field contests, I think that's your leverage spot there. Um, Houston is going to be the chalk again tonight, but they grade out pretty well. So, um, you play Warren, you play Houston, you get different with your remaining spots and with your SP2. And that's probably the move for small field contests. I don't. Robbie Ray's right there. I don't mind. There's somebody else. Who is it? Abbott at 10K. If you're trying to find like that same price range and get that same chalk kind of roster build, um, otherwise you can go down to guys like Ben Brown, Libertor, and just load up on bets.
Yeah,
I don't mind that in large field for sure. I know that was like a similar move. I think yesterday there's a lot of pay down. Was it yesterday?
yep.
We had the two pay down dudes who like went nuts. It was who was it?
Pepio, Soriano, Giolito.
Yeah. Giolito was like 73. Yeah. And him and the Peapot got like 30 plus.
Yeah, Ryan
Crazy.
Pupio is about to become Ryan Potpourri with the way he's pitching, right? Like it's pretty insane. But no, I'm in complete agreement. And yeah, I didn't think about Abbott as much just because of the environment that they're in. And, they thought Buxton wasn't going to play. Apparently he is. I'm not saying he's some world beater, but Correa has only been really good against lefties this year. And also like that park there is a hitter's paradise. I don't know if I'm going to chance it there. I just think Robbie Ray, Cleveland in San Francisco, probably a good move. And also Minnesota has a little bit of a higher team total than you'd like to see in this matchup. They're at like that 4.5 mark, and that's a little scary. But no, I agree. And yeah, Worm Burner, Andy Simmons, Lugo is already dead. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, we know who the Worm is stacking tonight. That's for sure. All right, let's go take a look at our range of outcomes and just take a look at offenses for tonight. All right, I'm going to just rerun these, refresh quick. So at the top, we have the Dodgers. Obviously, no surprise against Randy Vasquez, who just seems to like he gets hit, but he doesn't, have that like negative 15 game that we probably all would like for him to have when he's on the mound. But yeah, we have the Dodgers at the top, followed by Toronto. I'm very, very high on Toronto tonight. I'm going to get to them afterwards. Athletics, against Houston, grayed out very well for us. And I do agree with you, too, at also taking Houston against Sears. Like, that might be just what you do in small field.
Mm-hmm.
So sorting by ownership first, just to give everybody a look, Houston is far ahead of everybody else. Then the Dodgers, the Athletics, and then you have the Yankees. So it looks like people are probably going with a combination of Houston and then pay-ups. Maybe they're going a bigger 5-man and using Houston as a 3-man. Same thing with the Athletics and the Yankees. So, Tribe, what are your thoughts on bats tonight?
It's interesting because A plus loves a ton of teams. Granted, it's just a 12-game slate, so I guess that makes sense with just more games and more teams to choose from. So it's really choose your own adventure tonight, to be honest. Just personally speaking, I love Toronto. I'm probably gonna have Texas, and there's the A's or San Diego. There's a couple teams I'm looking at. The key thing there is like kind of this price point pivot with Houston and like what's that build, and then just taking out like literally just taking out the Houston 5 man and just swapping in, you know, whichever teams are similar to them in price. That's probably going to be my strategy for larger field. When I say larger field, I don't mean like 11,000 or 10,000 plus. I'm talking like anywhere between like 800 to 1,500 entries. Probably going to do that with a combination of fading chalk woo and call it a day. So
I like that strategy a lot. I mean, speaking from a small field perspective, Houston, you could definitely pivot off of if you wanted to go take somebody like I don't know, like if you wanted to go take, Milwaukee gets Ben Brown, you think he gets blown up, but like it's small field, it's a little tough, man. I kind of don't think you can really pivot off Houston unless you're going to go to Toronto. And Toronto is really they're probably my favorite offense of the slate. So like I already have like regurgitating puke in my mouth when I say that. But it just is what it is, man. Brandon Pfaadt has been,
the
absolute
fart noise, man.
yeah, the fart noise. If we were in the Discord, they'd be like Brandon Pfaadt, more like Brandon not, right? Like he's just he's doo doo. He's terrible. And Toronto just doesn't strike out a lot. They have a lot of guys with a lot of expected power against righties. They have a cheap offense that makes it work. Like you look at their lineup and you're starting like Addison Barger, 3,600 dual eligibility batting second. Kirk and Springer all have expected sluggings north of 200 against this. ISOs against this right-handed pitching. Expected slugging over 400. You have the Earn Dog, Ernie Clement, Ern Tani, at the bottom of the lineup. You have a switch hitting Clase. I just like the way that they come together, and I actually think that going them as a pivot in small field is very, very sharp. I also do like Texas, so I know we were talking about Lugo. So I was looking at Brandon Lugo before, and I just want to shout him out.
Seth Lugo, man. Come on now.
Whatever it is, whatever. Fucking he sucks. I don't need. Ever since he left the Mets, I don't care. At least I can pronounce it correctly, unlike the owner of Paydirt DFS, right? That's okay. So Seth Lugo, you see him here in our research sheets, not striking out any lefties, not walking to me. Their true average very high, expected slugging very high, expected batting average of 360 against lefties. That's atrocious. And then expected home runs of 7. His expected home run per plate appearance of 7%. Right here, one of the highest on the slate tonight. And then when you look at him against right-handed hitters, it's better, but not really better, right? Like a K percentage goes up a little bit. So does his walk percentage. His true average is higher. It's high. His expected slugging is still over league average. Batting
Wait,
average
is that a single digit K percentage?
Oh no, that is 20.2%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
why
20.
Is it decimal? God.
I don't know why we have.
I'll yell at James about that later.
Yeah, please do. This is some fucking like nerdy coding sort of thing here. But yeah, against righties, it's not much better, and he's still giving up like the same amount of home runs. So I just kind of think there's nowhere for him to hide with this lineup tonight. And I get that they just completely blanked against the White Sox. They exploded the one before, but like you're telling me he's going to deal with like a leadoff Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, Semien, who's been better, Adolis, who's been better, Berger, who's been hitting the ball. Like I just think there's like nowhere for him to really hide tonight. So I do like Texas quite a bit, and I do like that they are not in Kansas City; they are in Texas. So
for sure,
that's another spot I do like. Outside of that, though, just other offenses to shout out, and then I want to throw it to you for any gross offenses you kind of like. We did talk about Houston. I do also. I think Arizona is pretty interesting as a pivot off of LA. Bassett is good, but it's still Chris Bassett at the end of the day. And yeah, that's probably where I'm going to lean. Baltimore interested me a little, little interesting too. But Zach Littell is. I mean, he's been better. He's not great, but he's been better. So that's probably what I'm doing. So any other thoughts for you with bats?
I think in large field, like this is like the 10K plus size field type of deal, right? You absolutely should be stacking against both of these projected chalk pitchers who are going to be 50% or higher. Um, and to be honest, I don't even think you do that and, play some chalk around it to lower your volatility. In a smaller contest, something like I don't know, if you're in like the $44.88, like, and you're doing like 5 entries, maybe you do that. But in this, honestly, I think you stack against the chalk pitchers when we get guys who are going to be 50 plus. You limit your team pool to who's at the top of these stacks and the 8 plus. You fill it in with that. I'm fine eating the chalk pit. If you want to eat, you know, not the chalk, but like whoever we have is like the third and fourth highest owned options. Like, go for it, right? Either in ownership or just as far as paid up projection, right? And just let it rip for those super large field contests. I did something similar like this with Colorado yesterday, and that was by far my best lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely. And yeah, you know me, I was in there too. You were in there talking up the Rockies. You know, we had Gordy bricked up just talking about the Rockies, right? So
Yeah.
no, that was the right play. And honestly, in large field, I have to agree with you. I do think that chalk today feels a little bit more strong than it did yesterday,
Yes.
where I think it's a little bit more reliable. So I think a really good way you can go is attacking some of those tertiary pitching options too, like taking the Mets, who are now a lot cheaper. Schwellenbach's going to get ownership. You could definitely attack him. I think Boston is like the nut large field play.
That's
I
what
don't
I'm
like the
saying.
park. I don't like the park, but like give me a 3-man out off that. Like fuck yeah. I'm definitely into that. When we sort by leverage here too, Texas is the one that's really giving you the most leverage because of their direct pricing pivot off of Houston.
Yep.
So that's the other thing you could do too, is that if you want to really just keep that pitching, roll Texas out in large field, you're going to be in a really good spot. So no, that makes sense. And before we get to Sims, let's go take a look at the average matchup tool. So master matchup table here at Paydirt. It's my favorite tool. I consult this heavily before I even think about entering a lineup. And the best matchup trend today, we have Cincinnati against Festa. Interesting because that's a park, for them to realize the ceiling. And I don't know how well we had them projected. We have them pretty high actually. Wow. Yeah, they're showing 31% here in 8+ runs, moderately owned. So yeah, maybe Cincinnati kind of enters the pool now.
Hmm.
I don't love it for small field, but large field, absolutely. Houston, no surprise. Tampa Bay, no surprise when you see what they did yesterday. And also Tampa Bay going up against Dean Creamer, who's not the best arm in the world. They don't need to, play the best pitching they don't need to face the worst pitching to have a good outcome here. So Tampa Bay pretty strong. Then you have Arizona, and then there's Toronto.
Tampa,
So
Tampa Bay, a definite first or last team because they're either going to smack Dean Kramer around or he's going to strike out like 10.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, I don't want to. I don't think I want to be Dean Kramer tonight. I got this. I got this inkling that it's not going to go well. But Um, going over to Sims now. We're going to run first on small field very. This is for people that are playing the 250, the 121, the 44, the 88. 88's a little bit bigger tonight, but I think the dollar amount still stands. When you look at pitching exposure here, Robbie Ray, Will Warren, Ben Brown, Liberatore, Dean Kramer shows. That's kind of funny, but
Yeah,
this negative edge on Brian Wu, Jesus Christ,
yeah, this is what
that's
I'm saying. It's very clear like what the move is in small field.
yeah, it is. It's just play Robbie Ray, pivot off of one chalk pitcher, like and now seeing this like Will Warren being that chalky, I think in large field you have to fade him. You just have to do it. Small field, I think it's more of a conversation, but
Small field, I think you eat the Will Warren chalk, you fade Woo, play Ray,
yup,
play Houston bats, fill it in with whatever pay dirt special you want.
I totally agree. Let's guess what team was going to show up here, Tribe, under team exposures. Oh, shocker.
Houston, yeah, small field,
Houston,
Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's interesting.
that is interesting. I mean, I worry about that bullpen, but they've been getting kind of rocked lately. So
Hmm.
I do worry about that. I mean, yeah, Houston, Cincinnati, you have the Dodgers, the Athletics, Boston. Boston even showing in small field sims. That's pretty interesting. So maybe we'll consider that. And then, yeah, then you got Baltimore. But Looking at it now from a large field perspective, we're going to go large, and we're going to put this at below average just for anything like the $15 and under. So it could be, $15, the $5, the large $12, single entry, 20 max, whatever you people are playing. While we do that, let's look at some questions. Anthony Felia, when did Andrew Abbott become a 10K pitcher? Since he's been K in the world. He's just been striking out people left and right. And he's got some matchups that he can really crush. And you saw it against Cleveland, then you saw it against the Cubs. And he's got some that don't really go that well. So, but his upside's there. He's flashed 30 plus on multiple occasions this year. He's kind of deserving of that tag. Thoughts going back to the Rays? Yeah, Mark, in large field, I love going back to the Rays tonight.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really sharp way to go. Yeast, that's got to be some Tennessee fucking slang right there, Worm. I don't know what that means, but we're going to take it.
Straight out of Cashville.
Something like that. Coming from the guy who's quoting Mike Jones today, right? At 8 in the morning.
There'll be 50. The two pitchers, Wu and Warren, in small field, absolutely.
100%. I think Will Warren might approach like 60.
Yeah.
He definitely might approach 60. And make sure to click the like button if you're here for the outcome.
This guy.
I like it, man. I like it, Worm. I like it. I thought he was referencing other algos for a second, but I'll let his P-Hub history speak for itself. But now, large field, you're looking at things very much similarly here. Just, I got the right settings on. You're getting a big edge with Robbie Ray. You have Ben Brown here. Libator is a little bit of a bigger edge. There's also Abbott and there's Creamer. But really what's happening here is that what we're seeing, Tribe, is that really you should be going some combination of just like these four. And if you want to get really funky, like go play Abbott. But really not what you should be doing today. And in large field, Houston and Cincinnati. The Dodgers are up a little bit. Houston and Cincinnati are down a little bit. Minnesota makes an appearance. Boston, the Athletics, the Giants. That's interesting. And so, I thought you meant large field. You're talking about stacking versus them in 10K contest.
There's still going to be like 40% owned in large field, so you should still be stacking against them.
I totally agree with that. I think Will Warren, if Will Warren is less than like 40% to 40 to 42% in large field contest, I will be floored. I'll be absolutely floored by that.
Yeah.
And then that would make him the best play on the slate. And you should probably just lock him in like 150 lineups if he's less than that. But outside of that, any other thoughts for tonight, Tribe?
Nah, man. Just don't be afraid to get different. Don't feel, like you have to play some of the chalk tonight. Like, I know Houston looks great, but listen, like, it's baseball, right? Anything can happen. Guys can go 0 for 4 with two strikeouts, and they're at best, and it is what it is. So, just don't get too tied to medium projections.
I totally agree. I think that's a great message. And also to kind of illustrate what he's talking about here, you could do this in a few different ways, but just going down to Houston here, and this is our range of outcomes projections here. You can see, like, regardless of how they're projected, look at Houston, Jose Altuve, almost 21%, Pena 21%, Paredes 15%, Yanner Diaz 19%, a little over 19%. On an 11-game slate, that ownership is much different than if they were getting that on like a 6-7 gamer. So really, if you're going to play Houston and you're like really set on the stack, like, what's the difference in you going like, hey, you're going to say, all right, I'm going to pick 2 of Altuve, Pena, Diaz, and then I'm going to, work in Paredes, and then I'll go get 2 guys that are sub 10% owned, right? Like, that's a way you could do it. Or you could do Jason's preferred way tonight. Not saying I'm right, but let's assume I am. Is you could just go to Texas, who absolutely fucks at similar price tags, lower ownership, and also Toronto, who absolutely fucks at lower ownership. So that's what we could do tonight. All right. Let's see. We have another question here. Everything in my gut tells me to stack against Will Warren at close to 50% of the 12 gamer. Just a DFS game theory special. Trout, Neto, Ward Shunwell, he can get blown up. Yeah, Ryan, I can definitely see that. I said at the beginning of the show that he's got like this one inning every start he has where he just can't finish it, and he gets into a lot of trouble, and he did it against Boston the other night, and he gave up a home run to, I think it was Ref Snyder, maybe, just gave up a dong to a guy who like can't really hit righties, right? And yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I think he's a little too underpriced to be worried about that. And if you're playing in small field contests, you just want to eat him, because if he has at least like a slightly above median outcome, you probably need him in small field. He's just going to be that owned. In large field, though, you could definitely take bats against him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
All right, I'm out, y'all.
All right. Be good, Tribe. I'm going to hang around.
Win all the monies.
Let's do it. I'm going to hang around for a few more minutes in case anybody has any questions. Feel free to just fire away. All right, JP Sears with Angel Stack. I mean, I don't know. Do you like self-inflicting pain? Yeah, there's a word for people like you, and it's crazy. I would not do that. I mean, if you want to do it, you can. I mean, I'm never in the business of telling people like who you should play and who you should not play. If you see something, take it, but nah, don't do that. Don't do that at all. See what other questions have anything else here. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to be back again next week. We're going to be breaking down another Tuesday slate. I wish everybody best of luck. And yeah, let's go bring some trophies. If you haven't signed up yet at Paydirt DFS, come check us out. Come check us out in the Discord too. We're always talking in there. We have the greatest community ever. Everybody here that's commenting here on our different different things here. Like, we have Ryan here, Ryan Kings, that's my boy. We have Andy Simmons, aka Worm Burner. He's in the Discord. We got a lot of people in here, man. It's a great community. Everybody's trying to learn and help each other. And also we have a lot of people that do like to contribute to the community and add their stuff. So for instance, if you're in there, you're going to see our guy Lizard. He has these custom sheets where he breaks down essentially which bats are in the best matchup. Could be the lefties on a team or righties on a team. So that's something to really think about. James also likes to go and break down small field builds and what that build looks like and how you can pivot. He puts up a diagram every time. And also, we also have these different boosts. So this is something that I'm going to share with everybody here. James will actually, these are baked into projections, but James will actually show you, because we're all about transparency here, like what's baked into the projections, which teams are getting a weather boost, which ones are getting knocked for weather, which teams are in a really good, they're getting a trending boost for today, which ones are getting a matchup boost. So just, a lot more for, the money here. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, trust me, I know. I fucking saw it, dude. I saw it. Okay. Congrats on the win, though. It's nice when we have some Paydirt logos neck and neck with each other. And yeah, come check us out in the Discord. See major community here, a lot of stuff going on. We have all these different channels here too. You can talk about anything in here, from our bets, NFL, MMA, NHL, MMA, all these different sports. We have different ones too. We talk about music. We have polls. We have ones like my kids being a shithead, where everybody just, talks about the shit that their kids are causing, cryptos, random nerd shit. We food, merchandise. Pablo rants, where our resident, philosopher Pablo goes in and gives us his thoughts. And then my personal favorite is the lore chat, where, people's, shortcomings get brought up, and it's pretty funny. It's a good thing to just poke fun at each other. So it's a great community. Come check us out. But again, my name is Jason over Paydirt. And best of luck tonight. Let's go win some trophies.